Good. Look, delighted to be here on many fronts. I'm delighted to be back in the University of Limerick. And I'm also delighted to be here representing Dell and the many connections that Dell has with the university that we've built up over the last number of years. First of all, the university is a very important customer of Dell's, and we're very appreciative of the business and the work that we do together around technology solutions for the university. Also, and I know there's a number of them here today, many of our team here in Ireland, and in fact across Europe and globally, are graduates of the university, including myself. We also work very closely with the Kenny Business School, where we are here today in the lecture theatre, working on a whole range of different areas around supply chain, around project management, and developing new courses and new curriculum around a number of those areas. I know a number of the team here in Ireland are also based on some of the curriculum committees within the university, and we're delighted to have so many different involvements and connections of work here with the university. I couldn't talk about Dell and the university though and not reference that in 2001 Michael Dell received an honorary doctorate from the university here, and probably not a very known fact, that actually was Michael's first ever qualification. Michael started up Dell. He dropped out of college, not that I'm recommending that to the audience be an avenue, but he did, and I know he's very proud of the fact that his very first qualification was an honorary doctorate here from Limerick, and the importance of the university and the connections to Dell as well. So I'd like today to talk about transformation. I'd like to talk to you about the whole topic and area of transformation on a number of different fronts. Firstly, from an individual perspective for each of us, from a company or business perspective, and also from an economic perspective. I think the transformation is an extremely important activity for all of us to embrace. The world is changing rapidly. I think from an individual, company, and economic perspective, it's extremely important to embrace the opportunities from a transformation perspective. So I'm going to concentrate on and talk to you about that today in my piece. Because to speak about transformation and to be here in the University of Limerick and to recognize the significant transformation that's taken place from the formation of NFHE in 1972 through to becoming a university in 1989, and the significant work that was done by the founding president, Ed Walsh, in those early years, and after the university being formed, in the work done in Angleyvideo College, the Kenny Business School here, and all of the foundational work done in transforming the university here, but also I think in many ways leading transformation from a university and education perspective here in Ireland. I had the pleasure of spending time with the President Don Barry a little earlier, and clearly Don and his team have now built on that over the last number of years, and the transformation continues. If I go back to my time here at the university, I started a business studies degree in 1985, and that degree I graduated in 89, which was the first class and group that graduated as a university. And many of the folks who graduated in 1988 felt that the NFHE degrees were much more valuable than the last degrees, which is all of us that graduated in 89 said, well, we got the very first university degrees, these are the most valuable degrees. So there's always a debate, I know, friends and colleagues between those 2 years and onwards. And I think the thing we need to think about is what are the next big things for the future. In our industry, in the technology industry, it's probably a great example to use at how rapidly change, technology, and transformation can take place. The ones that you would hear now in technology for the future and skills would be around areas like cloud computing. We have our European Cloud Development Centre and Customer Experience Centre in Dublin. I know we're working with a number of folks, including John Nelson, on developing curriculum for the future here at the university around the cloud and cloud computing areas. And we value the relationships and connections to work with the university in building those qualifications and course experience, because they will be the skills and requirements we need for the future. Not just at a graduate level, we're finding more and more at a master's, postgraduate, PhD level, the depth and breadth of experiences that are required. Other areas in our industry with things like big data, a much used buzzword. I see some of my colleagues here from Dell, we use it regularly within our own company. And you know, big data is really about the fact that whether you're a consumer or you're a business, there's a rapid growing expansion of information. There's statistics out there in relation to the millions of emails that get generated every minute, the hours and hours, thousands of hours of video and photography, etc., and photographs that are put up on the internet, etc. And all of this is significant data and information that requires storage and management. But the much more interesting skills and opportunity from a business perspective around big data is around the analytical business intelligence, what you do with the data, how you interpret the data, and in many cases how you bring disparate sets of data and information together and bring it together into an overall business model. There's a lot of companies now developing around applications, around skills and capabilities around the whole area of big data, and that most certainly is an opportunity from a skills and from a curriculum perspective to continue to work on along with the cloud computing point. Another key area is social media. You know, the explosion in social media has developed a lot of new companies, companies like Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, and so on. And these companies and many smaller companies are now developing and forming around the whole area of social media and interaction. Twitter, for example, is now opened its European headquarters in Dublin as well. And what are the skills and capabilities required around that area? What are the types of industries and businesses, what will the skills be needed that will support those types of industries for the future? I think the university, and I know it is already doing this, clearly it's about curriculum, academic. The co-op and internship clearly gives the opportunity to be able to experience industry, work, and bring alive the academic element of qualifications. But I do think it's also a much bigger world now, and the need for students to be able to experience some of the emerging markets, not just from a language perspective, which is a very important aspect of our business and a very important aspect of many businesses now on the language side, but also the culture aspect and an understanding of the cultures across many of these countries. You often hear referred to as BRIC countries, for example, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and many of the emerging markets through Eastern Europe and Middle East and Africa. The opportunities, to think about how students can get experiences, not just now in industry through co-op, but out into other cultures and other areas as well too. Overall, I think it's extremely important to keep pace with the evolution of the requirements from an industry and skills perspective. But it's also extremely important to make sure the whole rounding out of the experience and from a skills and qualification point of view. Graduating and having a degree or a master's is a great qualification and skill set and capability, but having broader skill sets from a collaborative perspective, from a team working perspective, from a communication perspective, these are also very important aspects of the transformation of student and growing and developing student within the academia here in the university as well, which was through the 50s, 60s, and 70s the leading company from a photography perspective. Built up significant market share, grew and developed its business very much around film and photography and film processing and purchasing of film and blank film to take photographs and processing those photographs, etc. And this company invested heavily in research and development. It invested in areas of innovation. It invested and actually was the company that developed digital photography and digital cameras. But this company, in essence, didn't recognize the transformation that was taking place in the industry. It recognized the need to innovate and to research, but never recognized the need at that point to transform its business, to realize that the photography and film business would eventually die away, and everything would be digital. And there wouldn't be as they were having at that point a significant revenue stream and profitability stream associated with film technology. And actually, sadly, in January of this year, Kodak has gone into Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. And again, not a company that failed to innovate or failed to research and develop new innovative products and capabilities. It just simply failed to recognize the transformation that was occurring and retained its focus on older technology and older business that would ultimately die. I think another example of a company, another very successful company, Nokia. So Nokia started off as a paper milling business company and diversified into electronics and then very successfully into mobile phone technology. And if you think back 5-6 years ago, Nokia was the #1 brand on mobile phones. Everybody had a Nokia phone, we all had them, all different shapes and sizes and so on. And Nokia continued to invest, it continued to work with its customers in innovating and developing its products. The challenge is Nokia continued to widen and broaden out its product range to a massive extent, meeting individual specific needs and requirements and customizing phone and phone solutions to meet those needs. The challenge was the industry transformed. The industry moved towards smartphone technology. Simple, one device, clean looking device, like an Apple, for example, phone, an iPhone. And Nokia missed the whole transformation that was taking place in the industry. The simplicity, the ecosystem that was developing around applications, around the way in which people wanted to use their phones, the internet, applications, etc. And now that company is really trying to rapidly transform itself and change itself, but it's coming at it clearly from a very significant disadvantage. So the point here really is that transformation isn't just a one-off step from paper milling to electronics to specializing in mobile phones. It's a continuous journey of transformation as the industries evolve and change. And all of these examples clearly in the technology industry, which rapidly changes, and the need therefore to recognize and embrace transformation is absolutely key. But bring it back a little further to home and pick a couple of Irish companies who I think have very successfully transformed themselves. And these I think are very good examples because these are companies who were in essence quite large businesses in themselves. And they had to transform themselves from within. And the first example I'd like to reference is Paddy Power. So Paddy Power was a high street bedding, not that I ever gone in there, bedding outlet. And clearly, it was on the Irish market. 4 million plus people, you've got to go down the street, go into the bedding shop, place your bet, win, lose, whatever the result might be. So very limited and a very significant cost of entry into the market. So Paddy Power has now reinvented itself to online. It's embraced very much e-commerce. And recent announcements have announced, I think, up to 2,000 jobs over the next number of years in their whole e-commerce online business. And they've gone from a marketplace opportunity of 4 million people in Ireland with significant cost of entry into the market expansion to billions online through the internet. But also, importantly, recognizing the transformation in how people now want to gamble, how people want to bet, which is at home, on the internet, and they clearly are a significant success story within the Irish context from a transformational business model perspective. As a company, we have created a separate division on financial services. So actually seeing an opportunity from a business model perspective to create financial programs, offerings and packages from a financial services point of view for SMEs across Europe. We're just in the process of concluding our bank license. We're going to set up that financial services operation in Dublin. And that should, we hope, help to unlock here in Ireland and across Europe capital and investment and seed entrepreneurial capital for many small and medium businesses. And I think there's clearly a need to continue to work on helping break down those barriers from a financial perspective so so that transformation of the economy led through entrepreneurial, led through SMEs, can be supported. The second area is a barrier from legislation, administration, and bureaucracy. If you take an SME company today, for example, who sets up in Ireland, in many ways, their perspective initially would be probably to grow and develop their product and business here in Ireland. But being within the EU, the wider European economy, clearly looking at the ability to leverage the EU, no barriers to entry and movement, etc., and so on. But the reality is that many of the directives, so if you're in the technology industry, for example, and you have a piece of technology that you have developed, and you want to bring that technology through e-commerce, through the internet, and sell that technology in Germany, or in Italy, or in Spain. Believe it or not, the legislation associated with things like copyright levies on the technology, around data protection, and many other areas, is not consistent. And it isn't because the actual legislation at an EU level isn't developed with one standard, it is. But individual countries operate in implementing in different ways. So these are creating barriers, and I was at the EU a couple of weeks ago, and we launched an update on the single market. And this was one of the key points of feedback, is that we're going to small and medium businesses, here from Ireland or any of the other countries within the EU, we're going to realize the opportunity to grow and expand from an SME perspective. We're going to have to break down these barriers. We're going to have a consistent approach. So, because for many SME companies, they haven't got the funding, they haven't got the resources to navigate through all the differences and changes required. Clearly talked a little earlier about the need to develop the right skills. The skills for the future that will be most relevant for the industries and businesses and growth areas for the future for our economy. That clearly has to come in indigenous companies, in unlocking the opportunity and potential of SMEs and their ability to transform the Irish economy. The barriers we talked about in relation to financing, the barriers in relation to unlocking a more simple model to grow and develop across the EU. Also clearly a great success in attracting foreign direct investment is clearly an important part of the strategy and vision to continue to transform the Irish economy. Last year, under Barry O'Leary's leadership on the IDA, they actually had one of the most successful years of inward investment, with over 150 different projects, with over 13,000 new jobs created. What's really important there is we can continue that momentum. But also, and I know Barry and the team are really focused around this, is the types of companies, the types of jobs that will have the skills and requirements that will continue to make Ireland a more and more competitive place in the years to come. And that vision clearly needs to be built around 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years out, looking at some of the new areas we talked about a little earlier on of potential growth, areas like social media, areas like gaming. A lot of success recently in attracting many gaming companies into Ireland in the gaming development area. The question I pose with something like that is, in 3 years' time, will that be the competency, will that be the unique differentiator within Ireland on the development side of gaming? Or will it be whole other areas that evolve and develop within the gaming industry that Ireland will need to make sure it's got the skills and the capabilities to be? Mobility, bioscience, green energy, these are all great examples. And I think also there's going to be a clear need in the transformation and the vision for transformation in our economy to also ensure that our public sector, the efficiency around our public sector, investment in the public sector. Dermot O'Connell is here with me, who's our GM in Ireland. We work actively with the public sector and government in relation to using technology to improve the efficiency and the service and enhancement of the public sector. I'll give you just one example. There's been a lot of publicity over the last while in relation to, for example, medical records appearing on the sides of roads, appearing in certain places. A lot of information is coming through in relation to, the significant filing areas in each of the hospitals from an administration perspective, the hundreds of staff that are employed in managing those medical records. The reality is that there's hospital networks throughout Europe, in Qatar, for example, in the Middle East, in the city of Copenhagen, where there's 12 hospitals, to have a complete digital archiving records system. So there is no paper records, there is no physical X, there is no MRI scans, there is digitally archived, so that when the doctor is in the hospital, when the patient, on their device, they have access to the medical records, the scans and the information at the bedside, at the point of consultation. So you can imagine all of the back office efficiency you improve, but also the significant efficiency and transformation you could make in that consultation that takes place between the doctor and the patient. So finally, I just wanted to wrap up, and then we move into a little bit Q&A if there's some questions. I spoke a little bit about transformation from an individual perspective, from a company and business perspective, and also from an economic and from an art perspective. You know, I continue to, when I'm looking at myself or looking at my own company, to really encourage everybody to embrace the change and the need for transformation at all levels. It's a constant. There's no guarantees in relation to the things that we will try, the risks we will take, and the things that we will work on. But by embracing the change,